Good day to you viewers, the Colonel speaking to you live from the Preceptory for British Imperial YouTube Broadcasting.
No.
Oh no, but never mind. I mean the lay rectory, Squire. We won't edit that. No. This is for not quite the Preceptory, viewers. Good day to you, Squire. And here we are at the lay rectory, which rhymes with Preceptory, which is why I got it wrong.
Hello everyone.
I hope you know where you are, viewers, because I don't.
Welcome from wherever you are.
Yes, wherever you are. Yes, in the bar, at an hotel, somewhere, anywhere. You're all welcome. And here we go with part 2 of the Squire's collection of machines. There are going to be many parts to these videos. This is just part 2. What are you going to show us today, Squire?
Well, I was going to start off with this one.
That looks very attractive, doesn't it?
This is a hornless gramophone, probably pre-First World War. It's quite unusual. It's got this kind of
very unusual, actually.
It's got this applied decoration on it, as you can see all round, all this transfer work. And it's an Aerophone.
There we go. I'm not sure if we can pick that up, but we'll try. And there's the sound box, viewers. Let's get out of the way. There we are.
Yeah, now this one, as I say, is probably pre-First World War, and it's a bit of a mysterious item because I haven't seen another example of this, and I haven't seen anything much in a catalogue or on the internet either about them. But what is interesting is the back. If you turn it around and look at the back, this all actually takes apart. You lift the tone arm out like that, this piece comes out. It's quite made to fit together.
Yes.
And I think the theory has been advanced that it might have been part of a night and day machine where it would have an external and internal horn and some kind of valve to alter the sound from one to the other.
Yes, it seems to be that most of them are that way, although they did do later ones which were hornless grands, I found out recently.
I'm not sure quite which version this one is.
Well, it seems odd that slips in so carefully. It is designed to fit in, and has never been soldered or anything.
I mean, that's the actual swinging joint there, so it's never been fixed.
No.
And I mean, it could, I suppose, equally well fit that way into something.
Quite.
So, as I say, that's a bit of a mystery item. I bought this at a big antique fair.
Yes.
And a friend of mine who was with me at the time. Have you seen that gramophone under there? It was quite.
Sounds like the title of a song, doesn't it?
Exactly. It was quite derelict when I found it. I've done a bit of work on it. It still needs a bit more.
Well, like everything French, it had some woodworm.
Well, yes. And it's coming on quite nicely.
But it's lovely decoration. It's all sort of stenciled.
It's stenciled, yes, applied. That's right. Well, that's that one, and
that's really nice.
It's unusual. I have to say, I haven't seen an.
And it wasn't expensive, I don't believe.
I think I got it for £25, believe it or not.
I know hornless grands. Well, they are highly rated by certain leading dealers, but most of them don't seem to make a lot of money.
I think it's a pity, really, because there's nothing really wrong with them.
No, they were more expensive than a horn machine when new.
And it was part of the progress of the design of gramophones, so they've got an important part to play. I mean, I quite like hornless grands. I think I've got 3 in here at the moment.
Yes.
Was it 4 or 4? I think.
1, 2. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's that one. I think it's got an 11-inch or 11-inch turntable.
Right, that is unusual. Yes.
Continental sized. Yes, and it looks like it's got its original sound box, so that's nice.
Concert sized again.
Yes, exactly. Now we go on to this one.
That looks very familiar. Is that an HMV 130 I see before me?
Well, it's a version of it.
Ah.
Now this is an Indian version. So this is Colonial. It's in teak and not oak.
Yep, there we go.
And it's what this is. The other day I showed you the transportable, which was the sort of large portable version of this that was made for the army camps and outposts of Empire. And this one is basically basically a 130, but it's actually on this base.
That base is not a table. It is not anything separate. It is part of the machine.
It is. It's made like that.
And the funny thing is, I found a photo some time ago of some people in, I think, Persia or somewhere like that, sitting round one of these on a sort of low divan, having tea, and there was this thing on its little legs.
On the floor.
On the floor.
See, this is what I think. Is you go into a lot of those houses over there, they do have a lot of gatherings sitting on the cross-legged on the floor.
They do
and
indeed.
That's what I think this is designed for. It's got two plates, got two dealers' plates on it. That one I think is it Harold and Co. Piano and Organs Calcutta, and this one on the front is a.
What does that say? I can't quite read it. Oh, there we go. The Sealed Gramophone Mart, Music Dealers, Beau Bazaar Street, Calcutta.
What a wonderful what a wonderful
What a fabulous address. To have two dealers' addresses would suggest that one was the original retailer and one retailed it or sold it second hand.
It could be, but there's no messing about this. I mean, this.
No, it's totally genuine.
This hasn't been put on recently.
No, it has not.
That is part of the original construction of the gramophone.
We'll try and look underneath. As you can see, it's all old. It's all
absolutely
original.
Nothing's been messed
about with. It's properly made. Extraordinary thing.
Another very, very interesting one.
Amazing.
Which I managed to get hold of. But then this next one is
that's rather pleasant, isn't it?
Yes, this is a German gramophone, probably about 1910, 1912. With this very, very nice case with this corner decoration. Yes,
so the sort of quadrants there, which are rather nice.
Very nice, plain, but sort of a bit of art, almost a look of art, a bit of Art Nouveau about it, isn't it?
It's something, what they call in German, Jugendstil.
Ah, yes.
Which is somewhere between arts and crafts and Art Deco. It's a very particular German style.
Yes, very nice instrument, double spring motor, and the horn, as you can see, is in blue and yellow.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure whether the yellow paint is original or whether it was applied later, but the blue
certainly is.
And
yes.
I can't see anything wrong under there either, so I think that maybe the blue and yellow might be as it was.
So
I've certainly, I mean, I don't like really refinishing anything.
No.
I think when it comes to my ideas of restoration, clean, yes, polish, yes, but as to refinish, that's a very, very drastic step, and I think it's always a question of trying to do the least line of resistance.
Yes, it's irreversible, sadly. I've seen a horn on a Spanish HMV machine which looks absolutely horrific. I did tell the owner to paint it in matte colours and then wax it, but he seems to have done it in some sort of horrible day-glow colours. It's awful. It looks dreadful. Although, I don't doubt that it originally looked like that new. That's the funny thing, but to our eyes it looks horrific. But it's authentic colours. It's just that we use a different kind of paint nowadays. They use lead-based paint, and we use either acrylic or oil-based paints, and they're not the same.
No, it's very. I've seen refinished horns. It's very difficult to get. It's very.
They've got to be painted a dark colour usually to make them look okay.
I think a burgundy is probably one of the best if you're going to have to do it. But
And a lot of original horns weren't painted anyway. They were tinned and then glazed with a coloured lacquer. And that's how they got. And unfortunately, the tinning underneath rusts. The lacquer is fine, but unfortunately, that's why they look so awful. You know, I've restored them before. Could we have a look at the motor by any chance?
Yes, I think you can get at that.
People are interested in such things like that.
Let's have a look, see if I can.
No, there we go. We'll move back, viewers. Ah, there we go. My goodness. That's what they call a monster motor. There's no markings on the motor by the look of it.
I'm not sure. I'll just tip it up and see.
I can't see anything there, no.
No.
Handling there, that's handy.
Nicely made, very solid that one.
Very nice. Bit faded, but that's part of its original charm.
A bit of
as dealers say.
Bit of have a go at it with some darker wax sometime. It'll just take it down a little bit. But
yeah, but it's a sort of oak anyway, isn't it? I think it's not mahogany, is it? Or is it?
I'm not certain what that is. It looks.
Might be a walnut, actually.
I think it looks oak. It's difficult, that one. A bit tricky.
But it's not redone. That's the important part.
No, it isn't. No, that's right.
Wonderful. What's this machine here? This looks rather exciting. It looks like a record case sideways. Oh, it's a vanity. No. What have we here, viewers?
Now then, this is a Robert's Bestone.
There we go.
Now this is a different one from most, because it's a double horn one.
Well, well, well. So
You've
that
got-
above
you've
is
got
actually a horn.
That's a horn in the lid.
Yep, and
then
normally there's
and-
record storage underneath.
But in this case, you've got another horn down there.
Good lord, and they've got flaps on so you can...
Exactly.
And the tone arm is different to the normal style because it goes, as it were, both ways.
Yes, that's right. That's it. Yes.
Normally they face up into the lid, and I've
That's
noticed
right.
there's no aluminium grill saying
No, indeed not.
Bestone.
No, no, no.
And that's in almost mint condition, isn't it?
This is, I mean, the Roberts Bestone itself isn't a common one to find. Even the single horn ones aren't
isn't.
common. But this one, golly, this is a.
I think you own
leather-
several. I think you own a leather case one somewhere, and possibly a teak one exists. I'm sure somewhere between us we've got a teak one somewhere.
Ah, yes, yes. I think I've got the leather case one, and then
yes.
there's another version, a different version.
Yes.
Which is a different thing
There's
altogether.
a Colonial one which I've got somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting.
So there again, it's a very unusual machine. Very rare, I would say.
Oh yes. Yes, in fact I think amongst the Roger Thorne collection paperwork I've got some on Robert's Bestone.
Right.
And there is a style number for this model, and I can't remember what it was. Because I can't remember everything, viewers. And what lovely Edwardian upstairs downstairs machine is this?
Well, now this is one I've had fairly recently. I bought in the spring.
Off eBay, as
got
I
this
recall.
Yes, off of eBay.
Nobody wanted it, as usual.
And it's a Dulcephone.
There you go. It was retailed by H. Robinson Cycle and Motor Works, Sandy Beds.
And I bought this from the granddaughter of the original owner.
Who'd bought it? What sort of period?
Probably pre-First World War.
Yeah.
With a spare Dulcephone soundbox. It's quite genuine.
So presumably one maybe for sort of one type of record and one for another.
Sure, it's very, very unusual to find it with one with two soundboxes. Now the unusual thing about...
Oh, and there's a weight in the back of the tone arm. There's a bit of lead poured in the back of the tone arm to counterweight it. Extraordinary.
Another interesting part here is that the motor is under the horn.
Yeah, we
now
can't
in there,
see that, sadly.
You probably you might not be able to see it.
No,
There's
we
a
can't.
piece of tube in there.
I'm
just running my finger up, where the spindle comes
There's
up
the clue, viewers. There's the winding handle on the side at the bottom of the case.
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's it. But it's actually, as I say, it's lovely original condition.
Yes, if I took that off, do you think we could just tip it upside down? Because there's no base to this machine,
No,
viewers.
it isn't. I'll just take all these out.
They'll go everywhere.
Spending the next half an hour picking needles up.
I dropped some on the carpet the other day. I couldn't find the hoover, it was buried somewhere at the preceptory. And so I had to pick them up by hand. It's only afterwards I thought, why the devil did I use a magnet?
If I close this down, hang on.
There we go. And there it is, viewers, one of those Swiss motors. I think it's a Swiss one, isn't it? Oh no, this actually says Dulcephone on it. There you go. Dulcephone. And there's the horn and everything, absolutely untouched since about 1912, 13.
Something like that, yeah.
Yes, wonderful.
And that is so unusual to find. And it's an inlaid mahogany cabinet.
It is. So it was a luxury thing in its day, and it's in lovely condition.
It is.
And it's got a lock on the case, which is again unusual.
And you see, the other funny part about it is one sees Dulcephone portables.
Mm.
You know, the early Deckers they called Dulcephone.
Mm.
But I've never seen, I haven't seen a table grand like this Dulcephone.
No, I don't think I have. The Barnett Samuel. They did horn machines, of course, a lot of horn machines in different shapes and sizes.
Horns, yes. Yeah.
I think they were bought by Barnett Samuel, of course, and I think they're all of Swiss origin. Certainly the parts in here look to be of Swiss origin.
Oh, I would think so, definitely, yes. Yes.
Whether the case was made here, I don't know, but unfortunately the great people who research these things aren't interested in Decker or Dulcephone. Roger Thorne was, but look what happened to him.
I know. Well, there again, a very, very nice, interesting...
Absolutely
Gramophones.
wonderful. Real Sheraton revival. A classic piece. Now, you've got a couple of very interesting portables here. What have we here? That looks like a chunky beast.
Well, I think most people into gramophones are fairly familiar with a Columbia model 113A.
Yes.
And that's a big double spring portable that was made in the late 20s, early 30s.
Mm.
It's sort of derived from American models.
Yes, it is. I don't know the numbers.
156, I think, is one of them. I had the American version as well, but this one is a Colonial one.
Right. Well, yes, they're normally green, aren't they? Ah, yes, and chrome plated. Lovely shiny interior there.
Now the 112 is.
Ah, now what did it say there? Columbia Vival Toner Graphonola number 221.
Yeah, so this is a Colonial version. I'm fairly sure that this version was not sold in this country. This was
I shouldn't think so.
Brought back from India or somewhere like that.
Anywhere.
As an export model
in the East.
Super quality.
Don't think it says anywhere, does it? It
No,
just says patent numbers.
Exactly, that's right.
Yeah, it doesn't say made anywhere in particular.
No.
The serial number is 2219.
Well.
So it's actually got its own serial number, most unusual.
And then of course you've got the usual compartment in the lid to keep the records in.
Yeah, you can get what, 4 records in there?
Something like that, I think. Yeah. But it's got unusually it's got the quadrant needle holder in the side of the case.
And is it double sprung?
It is double sprung.
Because a lot of the British ones are actually big single spring motors, aren't they?
No, I think you'll find it's the Americans.
Oh right, the
American ones.
Right.
And normally got a huge single spring motor. Heinemann, I think the name is something like Heinemann single spring motor.
I'll have to have a look at my one.
I think if it's an English one, it should be double.
Right.
A double spring. Yeah, well, there's
it's such a devil to get out because normally they're on a motor plate, aren't they? Or the British ones are. The American ones they bolt onto the motor board, so you've got to unscrew all of this lot.
You have to dismantle the gramophone completely to get the motor out. I've done it once. I had one that was playing up, and I had to try and put another spring in it.
Dear, oh dear.
Ended up having to join 2 springs together end to end because it was such a long spring.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Mind you, it would run when it was in running trim. It would run 2 sides of a 12-inch record on a winding. That was a single spring motor.
Incredible.
You see, they never quite I think these companies never quite got it right. You see, you look at a gramophone like the 102. You think with a little bit extra, it could have done, run
so much more.
Do so much more.
Yes.
And but anyway, I suppose there was a reason for that, and that's to try and keep the weight down, of course, because any increase in power usually means a bigger motor and heavier springs and more weight to carry.
It's an odd thing that most of the Colonial models are usually oversprung, aren't they? Whereas the British models are sometimes undersprung.
I think the point is, I think the Colonial market was something completely different.
Yes.
I think, whereas in this country, if you had a big enough house, you would have a floor-standing gramophone or table grand in the sitting room or drawing room, whatever one cares to call it, and then maybe have a portable to put in the back of the car and go out on picnics.
Yes.
Whereas in the Colonial countries, one did both.
Well, indeed,
and
yes.
These are much higher specification than the British ones.
I have a suspicion that in the Colonial areas they sold ordinary models and they sold very, very deluxe models like this and the Teak case ones, and they were the highest spec you could buy.
Oh yes, well, I've seen
officers for the use of that sort of thing.
Exactly, yes. I've seen Colonial. I've seen Indian badged 102s and 101s, not very many, but I've seen standard ones sold over there. But how the case,
yes, I have, yes.
Yeah, but how the case would stand, that a case like that would stand the climate, I don't know.
Well, I've got 2 or 3 Colonial 102s, which are perfectly standard Hayes-built 102s, but were retailed in places like Perthshire, and not Perthshire in Scotland, viewers, Perthshire, and or Pershore up in Worcestershire. It was Perthshire, and places like I've seen one from Afghanistan.
Really?
I didn't buy it because it made too much money at auction.
Well, now this is perhaps slightly more common. This one. Now this is
not that much common. More common.
This is the Colonial version of the HMV 101 portable.
Yes, lovely.
Now here we go. This is Teak case.
Yes.
Now this one has the double sprung number 32 motor.
Yes.
The same you find in some of the sort of small to medium sized.
Well, the HMV 130 has it.
Oh, and a lot of cabinet machines. 157 got things like that. Good, fine motor.
Yeah.
But here we are. It's basically a.
But it's a 101 with a double spring motor, isn't it? And the case has to be
fractionally bigger.
Yeah.
Deeper horn.
Yes. Yes, deeper horn because there's sometimes an extension on there you can feel, but I can't on this one.
No.
So it must.
And this, I say, it's all got the quadrant on the side.
Yeah,
and the
gilt-plated fittings on the outside.
And the record container. And strangely enough, they don't. A lot of the Colonial ones don't have the metal ferrule in there.
No.
You know, there's a ferrule
Yes.
that goes in
Yes.
the British ones.
And there's
But
that,
they
that
don't
thing there.
have it.
Yes.
But that's quite a nice one. They don't turn up all that often.
No, they don't. No.
And under the turntable, I don't know whether you'd be able to see this.
Well, we've got plenty of light, have we?
But there is,
there we go.
if you just there, you'll see "Made in Calcutta."
Yes. For spares quote. Oh yes, and "Made in Calcutta" stamped into the wood.
Yes.
And a few other numbers that we, you know, BAL and things like that, which might relate to whoever, you know, assembled it.
That's right.
But there's the motor fixing points, viewers, and the usual HMV 130
exactly.
fitting.
That's right.
So extraordinary.
So yes.
And a number 4 sound box. There we go.
One of the early ones.
Oh dear.
With the,
try and break it, viewers.
with the paint, the writing behind the
Yes.
diaphragm.
Cast in behind, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
That's
yes,
fantastic.
A very nice one.
Very nice one indeed. We haven't got the Colonel's gramophone handy. Not mine, viewers, sadly.
I can get it.
It's nearby, is it?
Yeah.
Well, if we...
If I just move this one aside.
That's a good idea.
I think you'll see it there. But while we're doing that, let's have a look at this one.
Let's move this one aside. There we go. It's not easy to do this, viewers, one-handed. Hello, hello. What have we got here? That looks a real corker.
And this is a very large Gilbert portable.
That's almost a tabletop, isn't it?
It is, yes. yeah.
The bugle tone arm.
Yep, the usual perfectly standard bugle tone arm, like you'd find in the cabinet gramophone, except you've got a clip there to clip the arm.
Yes, a big post with a clip
like
there
that.
to hold it all together. And this corner fitting here for used and new needles.
That's right, and then you've got a
with
pad
the
in
pad
the
at the
lid.
top. Oh, look at that velvet, lovely.
Yeah, to stop the needles coming out.
Gilbert. And what does that say? It's just a registered design.
Yeah.
And a handle holder there.
Then you've got a clip and a device to lower the flap down. It should come down in a minute. It's a bit tricky sometimes.
Glad you've got nails to do that. There we go.
Soon.
No. Oh, look at that, gilded.
You've got a gilded horn, and there's a bit of record storage underneath.
Yes, I suppose you'd get a slim album in there. Oh, there we go. There's a strap for pulling the records out.
That's it. Yes, that's it.
How interesting. I was looking for gold sovereigns, viewers. No luck again. I always look very carefully in any machines. Well, you know, 162s and 192s are treasure troves. I found things in the past if you turn them upside down. Lovely. And 12-inch turntable too. That must be most unusual for a portable to have a 12-inch turntable.
Gilbert's often did.
Right.
They did a small. I think they did more portables than people think.
Well, I've never seen another one of these. This is most. Or have I?
I've seen
on
slightly
eBay.
cheaper ones.
Yeah, black
they did
ones.
more of a range, but this is sort of more upmarket than most.
Deluxe. Where did you get this from, may I ask?
Do you know? I can't remember now. I think I may have got it from a local dealer.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, may have got it from somebody locally.
Yes.
I can't remember.
You're very fortunate in having local dealers who find interesting stuff. I don't mean me, viewers. I'm not a dealer. I don't find interesting stuff. Well, I do actually. I tend to keep it though. Although I don't buy as much as I once did. Well, none of us do we really? Ah, here we go. And here's the Colonel's machine.
No.
Here comes the fabled duster. I think we'll have that framed one of these days. It's becoming a star.
Well, now this is.
Do you have a supplier for your dusters? Are they shipped in from Harrods?
No, not really. This one I showed you earlier, the big version of the 101.
Yes.
Well, this is the big version of the 102.
How interesting. Ah, there we go. That's the one with the jointed horn I was thinking of. There is a 102 horn in there with an extension piece coming to the top, and it's painted brown. That was retailed by A. Godin and Company. Quetta. There we go. Interesting, but as you say, again, a 32 motor, I would imagine.
It is a 32 motor, yes indeed.
And
yeah.
Identical to the other one, except it's a 102 essentially. But in this case, it has something rather unique, doesn't it? If we turn it into the light and close the lid, perhaps. There we are. It belonged to Lieutenant Colonel P.I. Franks, I think that says, care of Grindley's Bank, 54 Parliament Street, London, SW1. There you go. All absolutely original.
And then, although you can't see it, it's rubbed off, but there was a word there, cabin.
Ah, right. Yes, there it is, cabin.
Yeah,
I can see it there.
Yeah, just about. Yes.
In fact, the camera can pick it up better than I can. Now, there's an interesting story about how you came by this, isn't it? We won't mention where you got it from, but would you mind telling us what you paid? Because we're very jealous at the Preceptory of this machine.
Well, the funny part about it, I bought it from a place which is normally full of absolute rubbish.
He's not underestimating that, viewers.
It's really, a lot of the stuff in there is absolutely terrible.
I'd say 99.9 recurring percent.
Exactly.
The worst dregs of boot fairs and that sort of thing.
But well, I was going past one day and went past one of the windows, and they had this one in the window, and I think it had been £100, and they got it for a sale. I think I got it for 80.
You didn't, viewers.
Didn't I?
The Colonel remembers this story better.
Oh right.
That someone had mucked about with it, and the spring had come off. And Nigel bought it for 45 quid. It has been seared into my memory, viewers. It was offered to me at one point, viewers, and I didn't buy it. What a fool! It wasn't expensive either. But what a fabulous machine. A, it's a nice rare machine. B, it's in super condition. You wouldn't find a Colonial machine in nicer condition, I don't think. And it has the original owner's details written on the side.
I did have one of these years ago. The one I had years ago was a Teak one.
Ah.
So they did do a Teak version of this one.
Right.
But that's 20 years ago I had that.
Yes.
That's when I had the business, so I had to sell and keep the selling going in those days.
This is the trouble. I used to find that I couldn't find enough business stock, so I used to loot my collection when offered what seemed at the time considerable sums of money.
Exactly.
And a lot of it, to be honest with you, I have bought back in recent years for considerably less than I got in the 90s, late 80s and early 90s.
Exactly.
But
right.
Some things you don't see again.
No, you don't. That's very, very true. No.
Oh dear.
Well, that's that one.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for showing us that.
No,
Hope you don't mind me correcting you on the price there.
I've forgotten that.
I hadn't. I'm not bitter, viewers. I really am not.
Well, I'm afraid it's brain like a memory like a
well,
suit.
you can't remember everything.
Well, let's have a look at this one.
Ah, here we go. Oh, what have we got here? This is rather exciting.
Now this is a Japanese built machine, and this is a Mikkyphone.
Right.
Now you see there are two ways of spelling that. The Swiss one, which is in a round tin, like about the size of an alarm clock, is with an I in the middle.
And that's with a Y, Mikkyphone.
A Y in the middle.
Yes.
Now this needs considerable restoration.
Right.
I was given this by the son of the original owner, and it has a very, very interesting story. Now see, if you look at that, that's the horn. That looks like a miniature portable gramophone horn.
It looks like a miniature, yes, 101 or
that's right.
Possibly
so
102
you put that
horn.
on and the sound box goes on the end, which
Yes.
is missing. It has got bits missing. The sound box and the holder is missing. I think there's a screw that goes on there to clamp a clamping plate to clamp the records on.
Yes.
Now the man who bought this bought it in Singapore in about 1950.
Right, because I always assumed they were pre-war, but obviously...
I think they were, but I think they made them for a lot longer, because this one was definitely bought in Singapore, and he was in the army, and they were on their way out to Korea.
Good Lord.
And this gramophone was used all the way through the Korean War. And they had a local sort of services radio station, and they had 3 records that they used to play on there. And one of them was Fly to the Bumblebee. I should think it's the Harry James version. and people used to tune in to listen to this thing playing these records.
How amazing!
But the original owner has unfortunately recently died. But I was speaking to his two brothers the other day, and they said, funny enough, I had it on a display at the Model Club show in Whitney, and they said, oh, we think we've got something like this, or seen something. I said, oh, this is the very one.
Goodness
John
me.
gave it to me.
How amazing.
So yes, I had it from, and that little lovely bit of provenance as well.
Well, it's lovely to get the personal story behind these machines, because if you buy a machine from an antique fair or something, it's just a machine at an antique fair, and the history is lost, sadly.
Exactly.
Unless someone's been thoughtful enough to write it down and put it with the machine, which is, I don't think I've ever had any history with any of the machines I bought. You had with that one, didn't you?
Oh yes, yes. I've had various bits of history. Managed to get them from, buy machines from family members of the original.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, you've been buying machines, what, 50 years and more?
Oh yes.
And you were buying them either from the original owners or from people who'd inherited from the original owners.
Exactly. So that's a nice, unusual little piece of equipment.
Oh, I'm lying there, viewers. I've just remembered I was given a full history with a Teak 101 I bought. Unfortunately, I mislaid it.
Now this is another one, this is a Columbia.
Ah.
Now this is another unusual one.
That is interesting, isn't it? Well. And what model is that? I can't make that plate out. Oh, hang on. It's a G50? Yes, G50.
Yeah. There again, I think this is one I haven't seen another example of, and I believe it to be, there again, Colonial.
Yes.
A small Colonial one. I've got the one that is most like it here, and this is the metal cased. This is the metal cased Columbia Cadet. Ah
yes, which came in 5 colours, amazingly, but the one you see most often is black.
Yes. So that's the other small Columbia.
I must say to people, if you send them through the post for eBay or what have you, please take the sound box off, because they arrive broken, because the fitting at the bottom of the tone arm is pot metal. Just thought I'd mention that, but there we are. They do look very similar, except of course this one seems to have a bigger horn, but I think that's just, although yes, it has a no, not that different a horn. Auto brake, it's not a child's machine, as some people might suspect.
This one's sort of around about 1930. That one is probably, it could be Wartime. I think that's why it's grey. It could be Wartime.
Could be, and of course you've got the press. Oh no, that's the winding hole. But on the top you've got a press button clip to open it, whereas on here you've got the standard.
Yes.
And this is a metal case covered in Rexine, and this is just painted wood, isn't it?
Yeah.
Extraordinary.
But I mean, the Cadet isn't a rare instrument. It's a very nice one. I think it performs far better than the HMV equivalent, the Model 99. I think
oh no, not the Mighty 9. That's a dreadful machine.
It works very, very nicely for its size.
Oh yes.
And that one is more of the sort of Second World War. It's got that single spring motor that you find in the Model 97, the sort of cheaper
tiny turntable.
About 6 or 7 inches.
It's not for playing Berliners, viewers, although it will.
No.
But the funny thing is, I don't know why HMV did it. Columbia didn't seem to, but HMV seemed to make a range of pretty poor quality, shabby machines. The 104 comes to mind when you got the 130, which was excellent.
Well, I suppose really it's a question of size and what people could actually.
But they're often underpowered. You think of the 99 and those other. They're dreadful.
Oh yes. Well, the trouble is, it's like all that range of gramophone. It goes from the Model 100 right the way through to some of the early 103s, where they had that tiny single spring motor, which was barely adequate. I mean, with the exhibition soundbox ones, they were a bit on the borderline, but when it got to the heavier soundboxes, they were totally. They were pretty. It was quite a job to get them to run properly sometimes.
Yes, indeed. What's this brown machine here? That looks rather interesting.
This one?
No, not the Decker Trench type. The one underneath. Oh, that looks rather attractive. Is that a crocodile leather case?
It's either that or a fake one.
No, it's leather, but it's just stamped with a crocodile pattern, isn't it?
That's a Maxitone.
A Maxitone.
Yeah.
A machine that normally would sort of go right under a collector's radar for being too ordinary and too boring, but this is fantastic. Why on earth do they make a good quality model of that?
But then you see, funnily enough, Maxitone is I think, were Maxitones made by Lugtons? Was it Lugtons?
I have a vague feeling it was, yes.
Well, the point is, they did a range. The early ones aren't too good, but the later ones, they did a terrific range of portables, and some of them are very, very good quality.
Amazing. They must have had different sort of standards. I have a feeling some of them could be had originally with coupons from Black Cat cigarettes and things like that.
Well, my mother certainly had a Maxitone portable, which I later inherited, and she told me that the family, they were, a lot of them were smokers in those days.
Yes.
And Kensitas, it was Kensitas.
Oh, Kensitas, yes, there were the silk pictures
right,
as well. Yeah.
That's right. And I know that grandfather and everybody saved the coupons to get the gramophone.
Oh dear. And you inherited that in the end?
Eventually, yes. It was the first portable I had.
Extraordinary. But that's a super machine, isn't it? You wouldn't think that such a, well, I would say lowly company, but to have a mock croc skin leather case
exactly.
is more or less the top of the tree for a machine like this, or a maker like this.
But then they did do some nice models. They really did.
Again, it doesn't make an awful lot of sense. But
no.
You know, presumably people could go and buy these machines to match their luggage and suitcases. It didn't have to be poor quality. You could have one as nice as that.
But then it's the sort of thing you'd expect HMV or Columbia to do, but a maker like a brand name like Maxitone, it's like Selectra. I mean, they turned out some good portables.
Selectra did some astonishing portables, didn't they? In fact, you've got one somewhere with a bifurcated horn.
Yes, exactly.
I can't see it.
We'll probably find that for part 3.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, mustn't forget there's more than one part.
Oh yes, true.
Don't want to keep knocking things over. There we go. My feet. Well, that's extraordinary. What else have we got here we can talk about? Oh, that's one of those little one of those cinches, isn't it? Little
cinch Zonophone.
Oh yes, wonderful. Very interesting. Well, that's great. Thank you very much for showing us it. As you say, we can always have a part 3 and
yes.
decide what to talk about then.
This one is the one I've had recently. Recent acquisition.
Oh, how interesting! It's a wireless, I would say.
It is, yes, and this is the. Oh, if you just excuse me, let me get this one as well.
Right.
Put them side by side because, in a way, they're opposite sides in the wall.
Oh, right.
What you have there, you've got your hand on, that is the utility radio that was put out around about 1943.
Yes.
Because there was a problem. Because there were a lot of radios in this country where they needed valves and other equipment to repair them, and they couldn't get the parts.
Right.
And so the government had an idea that they must get people have communication of some sort.
Yes.
So they turned out this very inexpensive radio, which used sort of obsolete parts that weren't needed immediately for the war effort. The set was designed by a man who was a designer at Murphy Radio, and if you look at that,
yes,
you will see there's a letter
U9.
U9. Now I haven't got the code book to tell me what it is, but it was a standard model
for utility.
Yeah, but it was produced by about 40 different companies.
Good Lord.
So all the companies combined, and they turned out models like this for the people during the Second World War.
A couple of big valves in there.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's 4 valve.
Of course, just because there was a war on, people didn't stop buying radios. It's just they weren't available.
They couldn't get them. They weren't produced. And then, of course, there was a crisis because if they needed to put out government broadcasts, they couldn't. People couldn't listen.
Which brings us on to the next one, I imagine.
But no, this one is the German equivalent.
Right.
So if I show you the back of it first.
Yes.
The Deutsche Kleinempfänger.
Kleinempfänger, small something or other.
And this is the sort of Hitler's idea he sort of got these radios produced, and this is the German equivalent.
Oh yes, I can see a familiar looking symbols there.
That's right, it's got the swastika and the eagle. So this is the German equivalent of a people's radio brought out cheaply to keep people in communication with the leadership, really.
Right, did it have a long range, or was it just for local reception?
It was designed to pick up local stations, so that people could hear the latest speech from Hitler. But that is the German equivalent, that's the British one. So
how extraordinary.
Both sides doing the war.
German Art Deco Bakelite, and here we have with good old British plywood.
Exactly.
This is more like it.
Yes, that's right.
And not exactly gone over the top with finish, have they?
No.
Just varnished and a bit of cloth on the front.
On the top here, made under the Wartime utility radio, made under the direction of the British government.
Right.
Something like that.
Wonderful. Are they quite rare radios?
Well, it's very funny because the thing that varies a lot is the knobs on the front, because the makers, if they had anything they got tucked away, they used. So you find them with all different kinds of knobs on the front.
People weren't worried.
There's nothing wrong with it because that's the way it was.
Yeah, people weren't
concerned. They didn't have, because it wasn't made from. The companies didn't put an individual design out. That was a standard design.
I've a vague feeling that I've seen one of these in the back of the scenery of that series Shine on Harvey Moon.
Possibly.
Produced by Marks and Gran, I think it was, in the 80s.
They're nice little radios.
They are.
They just work on medium wave.
Right.
And I think this German one probably does as well, medium wave. Because I don't think they had a long wave transmitter during the war. I think it all went to medium wave, and then they had what they did there, they combined it, and they had a national programme over all the regions, so that enemy aircraft couldn't use them as tracking to track,
yes, of course,
bomb aiming or anything like that.
Yes.
Because if you'd have had individual stations, they could pinpoint things.
Yes. How interesting. In fact, I was listening to an interesting play on Radio 4 the other day, based on a book I was given recently. It was called Look Who's Back, and it imagined Hitler waking up in modern day Berlin. And it was jolly good. In fact, it's on Radio 4 Extra if you want to listen to it, viewers. It's quite amusing. He eventually takes over YouTube. Which is better than taking over certain societies, I suppose. But jolly good. Well, I think that was wonderful. We'll adjourn now, and we'll see you hopefully for part 3. Thank you very much indeed, Nigel, for showing us these things.
Well, I am grateful to people to watching and listening to this. Thank you very much. I hope you're enjoying it, and we'll hopefully keep the news coming.
Yes, part 3 soon. Thank you, viewers, and
okay,
goodbye.
Then.